I was taking a nap after putting the baby down when I woke up to my mother-in-law standing over me. Your baby was crying. You didn't hear it. So I took him. I panicked, ran to the nursery. He wasn't there. I found her downstairs feeding him formula I'd explicitly said he was allergic to. My husband just said, "She's helping." You were asleep. That night, I found legal guardianship forms in his office drawer. Her name was listed first. We had moved into a small rental house in Rockford, Illinois after Jacob was born. It was supposed to be temporary while we saved up for a house. My husband, Mark, kept saying, "Just a year. We'll be out by spring." Jacob was 5.5 months old at the time, and I hadn't slept through the night once since he was born. I'm the kind of mom who tries to stay calm. I read the books. I set up the schedules. I breastfed, even when it hurt, because I wanted to do what was best for him. Jacob had a mild milk allergy. We found out early when he broke out in hives after a formula sample from the hospital. So I didn't mess around with it. His pediatrician gave us a prescription formula for emergencies, but even that I used only once. Diane, my mother-in-law, never liked that I breastfed. "It's not practical," she'd say. "He needs to learn how to take a bottle from someone other than you." She'd been pushing formula since the beginning, always acting like I was trying to be better than everyone. Mark defended her at first. "She just wants to help," he'd say. "She's trying." No. She was trying to control. That Thursday afternoon, I had finally gotten Jacob to sleep after 2 hours of fussing. He had a bit of a runny nose, and I think he was teething. I rocked him until my arms hurt, then placed him gently in his crib, turned on the white noise machine, and closed the nursery door. I was drained. I hadn't showered. My shirt had spit-up stains. I laid down on the couch and closed my eyes, just for a second. I don't know how long I was out. When I opened my eyes, something felt wrong. Off. I felt watched. That's when I saw her. Diane. Standing over me like something out of a nightmare. "You didn't hear him crying," she said. "So I took him." At first, I didn't even process it. I thought I was dreaming. Then I sat up fast. "Where is he?" She didn't even blink. "Downstairs." He was hungry. I sprinted to the nursery. Empty. Not a sound. The blanket was folded on the chair. The crib was cold. My stomach dropped. I found her in the kitchen. She had him in her arms, feeding him from a bottle. I froze. It was a red-labeled bottle. The formula brand I told her he couldn't have. I snatched it out of his mouth. "What is this?" She looked up calmly. "He was crying. You didn't hear him. He needed to eat. He's allergic to this. I told you, he's fine. Stop overreacting." Jacob started crying. Not a normal cry. Sharp, high-pitched. I checked his face. His cheeks were blotchy. I could see little red patches around his mouth. I didn't wait. I grabbed his diaper bag, the EpiPen, and ran out the front door. I drove to the pediatrician's office without shoes on. They checked him, gave him Benadryl. Thankfully, it hadn't progressed too far. But the doctor was clear. He cannot have any dairy-based formula. At all. When I got home, Mark was there. Diane was sipping tea like she hadn't almost put my baby in the hospital. I confronted him. I told him everything. He sighed and said, "She's just helping. You were asleep." She was worried. I told her he's allergic. "You probably didn't explain it clearly enough." That broke something in me. That night, I couldn't sleep. Jacob kept waking up every hour. I stayed in the rocking chair, holding him, watching his breathing. Around 2 a.m., I remembered I left my charger in Mark's office. I went to get it. That's when I saw the envelope. On the desk. Plain as day. Emergency guardianship, Jacob. I opened it. There was a legal form. It had Diane's full name as primary guardian. Not me. Not even co-guardian. My name was mentioned once, under biological mother. No rights listed. Mark's signature was at the bottom. Mine was blank. He'd done this behind my back. And it wasn't just a draft. There were post-it notes on it. Names of lawyers. A printout of the state's guardianship filing process. A reminder that read, "Get notarized, Mom, Tuesday." I stood there for a long time, holding that paper. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt cold. I put it back exactly where I found it, and I started to plan. The next morning, I pretended nothing was wrong. I acted like I always did. Made coffee, fed Jacob his mashed banana, turned on the news, and smiled like everything was normal. Mark came in wearing his tie crooked, muttering about traffic. I looked up at him and said, "You forgot to kiss Jacob goodbye." He gave a quick peck on Jacob's head and rushed out the door. He didn't notice how stiff I was. He didn't notice the bags under my eyes or how I didn't touch my coffee. He didn't notice me at all. I waited until I heard his car pull away. Then I went back to his office and took pictures of everything. Every page. Every post-it. I even opened his email on his desktop and found 2 messages to a local estate attorney. One of them had a draft attached. Same form I saw last night. That timestamp? From 2 weeks ago. This wasn't new. He had planned this while I was still waking up every 3 hours to feed Jacob. While I was still healing from giving birth. He had planned this with her. I sent the photos to myself. Then I called a friend, Allison. She's one of those no-nonsense women who doesn't ask questions unless she has to. She works part-time at a legal clinic and used to help women get protective orders. I told her I needed advice.
She didn't ask why.
Just said, "Come over."
Now. I packed tilbage for Jacob.
Enough diapers, wipes, and clothes for a few days. My hands were shaking the whole time. I didn't know if I was overreacting or if I was finally seeing things clearly. When I got to Allison's place, I showed her the pictures. She looked through them slowly, then said, "This isn't just weird. This is dangerous." Then she asked something that chilled me. Has Diane ever tried to be alone with Jacob before this? I hadn't thought about it, but once she asked, the memories started rushing in. That time she came by just to help and insisted I go take a shower. I came out and found her holding Jacob outside, by the edge of our driveway, near the road. The time she offered to take him for the night so I could rest. I said no. She pouted for an hour. The way she always said "my baby" instead of "your baby." Allison helped me draft a letter. A cease and desist. She said it wouldn't legally stop Diane from visiting, but it was a start. It documented that I didn't want her around my son without my permission. Then we called a lawyer. A real one. We met with her the next day. I brought all the documents, the emails, the formula incident. She didn't waste time sugarcoating. "You're in a vulnerable legal position," she said. "Especially if your husband is listed as the primary parent on certain documents, and if he's working with his mother behind your back." That's when it hit me. I could lose my child. Not because I was a bad mother, but because they were working together. My own husband and his mother. That night, I went back home like nothing happened. I told Mark I wanted to apologize for overreacting and that I understood Diane and just wanted to help. I said maybe I'd been too emotional and needed a break. His eyes lit up. He actually smiled. I felt sick. He said, "I told you, she just wants what's best for Jacob." I nodded. "I know." That weekend, I told him I'd take Jacob to visit my sister in Peoria. Just for a few days. He hesitated. Asked if I'd take the car seat. If I needed money. If I'd be back by Sunday night. I said yes to everything. I left Friday morning. I haven't gone back. Mark called me 7 times that weekend. Left 3 voicemails. Just checking in. "Can you send a picture of Jacob? When are you coming back?" I didn't answer any of them. I was staying with my sister, Becky. She lived in a 2-bedroom apartment above a nail salon. It smelled like acetone and jasmine rice, but it was safe. Becky didn't ask questions until the second day, when I was still sleeping on her couch and hadn't made a single move to pack up. I finally told her everything. The nap. Diane. The formula. The guardianship papers. Her face went pale. Then she said something that stuck with me. "You know this isn't about the baby, right? This is about control." She wasn't wrong. Sunday afternoon, I got a text from Diane. Just 1 sentence. "You're being cruel, taking him away like this."
No, I.
No asking if Jacob was okay.
Just that.
The tone hit me in the gut. Then, the next day, something worse happened. Becky came home from work and handed me a plain envelope. No stamp. No return address. Found this taped to my door. Inside was a letter.
Typed.
No signature. But I knew who wrote it.
Diane.
She accused me of being mentally unstable. Said I had postpartum paranoia. Claimed Jacob had been losing weight under my care and that she was monitoring the situation with Mark and necessary professionals. I showed the letter to the lawyer. She said, "They're building a case." "What kind of case?" I asked. She looked me in the eye. "To take custody." Everything sped up after that. I filed for emergency custody that week. My lawyer had me draft a statement, get Jacob's medical records, pediatrician's notes, everything. She also told me to request a wellness check at my old house, to document that I was the one who had Jacob, and he was fine. That's when things got ugly. On Thursday, I got a call from DCFS. Someone filed an anonymous report. They claimed I was neglecting Jacob, that I was hiding out with him and refusing to provide formula because of a delusion he was allergic. I felt like I was drowning. The caseworker came by. She was kind, but serious. She asked to see the formula I'd been using. I showed her the prescription and Jacob's chart from his doctor. I gave her everything. She nodded. "You're doing everything right, but I have to file this visit. It'll show up on your record." Even though I was cleared, it shook me. They were playing dirty. Diane knew exactly how to twist the truth. Mark texted me later that night. "You're making this worse. We can fix this if you just come home." I didn't respond. Instead, I asked Becky to watch Jacob while I drove to Rockford. I needed to see something for myself. I parked a block away from the house. I waited until dusk. I didn't go inside, I just watched. That's when I saw her.
Diane.
Coming out of the house. With a baby carrier. My stomach flipped. I crept closer. I couldn't see the baby's face. But the blanket? It was Jacob's. The blue one with the tiny ducks on it. The one my mom made before she died. I felt lightheaded. She put the carrier in her car and drove off. I followed. She went straight to a church about 10 minutes away. Walked in with the carrier like it was her own baby. I sat in the parking lot, watching people greet her, coo over the baby. My baby. That's when it hit me. She was pretending he was hers. To the outside world, Diane was already living in the future she wanted, one where she was Jacob's mother. And I was gone.
I didn't go inside that church.
I didn't cause a scene. I waited until she drove away, then I followed her back to the house. Watched her carry that baby carrier inside like it was nothing.
She still didn't see me.
When I got back to Becky's, I held Jacob for an hour straight. I stared at his face, at his soft brown hair and little fingers, and I made a promise out loud. I won't let her take you. The next morning, I filed for a restraining order. My lawyer said it was a long shot. But the letter Diane left, the pictures of the fake church visit, the guardianship papers, the formula. She stacked enough bricks, and I finally had a wall to stand behind. We filed everything. My statement was 10 pages long. I didn't leave anything out. 2 weeks later, we went to court. Diane showed up in pearls and a soft blue sweater. She even had a folder with Jacob's routine printed on the front. She gave the judge a copy. Like it meant something. Mark came too. He didn't look at me once. Sat next to her like a damn statue. When it was my turn to speak, I told the truth. All of it.
My lawyer laid out the timeline.
The feeding. The forged guardianship papers. The anonymous report to DCFS. The fake church visit with someone else's baby in my child's blanket. That one made the judge sit forward in her chair. Then my lawyer pulled out a final document, the pediatrician's allergy letter. It said Jacob had a documented dairy allergy, that he'd been under healthy care, that I had followed every instruction.
Diane didn't look so calm then.
She tried to say I was exaggerating, that I was sleep-deprived. She tried to cry. But Mark, he broke. He stood up without being asked and said, "Your Honor, I just didn't know what to do. My mom was always around, I thought she meant well, and I didn't want to fight. The judge asked him directly, "Did you sign legal guardianship papers without your wife's knowledge?" He nodded. That was it. The restraining order was granted for 1 year. Full temporary custody went to me, and she was barred from contact with Jacob. When we walked out of that courtroom, Diane tried to come toward me. Her face was red, and she opened her mouth to speak. I stepped in front of Jacob's stroller and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "If you ever come near my son again, I'll make sure the next time we're in court, you're wearing handcuffs." She turned white. Mark didn't say anything, just stood there, watching us leave. He emailed me a week later, asked if he could start over and learn how to be better. I never replied. Maybe I made mistakes. I didn't speak up sooner. I didn't see what was happening right in front of me. I wanted to believe the people around me loved Jacob the way I did. But now I know better. Sometimes the worst betrayal comes with a smile and a bottle in hand. And sometimes being a good mom means burning the bridge your child's future is tied to, even if your husband's on the other side.